excuse me. I'm going to have to apologize. This is the first crowd that I've been with that I've been. You're going to have to excuse me, and I apologize. This is the first crowd that I have been a member of where I am allowed to fearlessly say how ecstatic and how optimistic and how happy I am right now. The fact that I'm saying this in this forum, because it's been on my heart, because I see the chaos, I see the fear, and I wonder why. It's about us, everyone in this room, every individual, your community. It's not about something outside of us. So with everything going on, with all the chaos, with all the confusion, what an amazing opportunity for us to go out in our communities and do something right now. I mean, Urban Green. I grew up in rural Tennessee. I grew up on 15 acres, 3 particularly that was my father's. It was purchased by my grandfather, Gardner Smith Sr. in 1926. My grandfather came to rural Tennessee and had the vision to buy 15 acres of farmland in 1926, which is still in my family today. Yes. I did not grow up on that farm. I grew up traversing all across the United States. I grew up in approximately 8 different states, from Michigan all the way to Arizona. And I was always the new kid in school, and I was always the outsider. And growing up, that gave me a sense of rugged individualism that when I did go into groups, I was able to maintain my own values. And this right now is what I see as an opportunity for us as citizens, as communities, as individuals, to go out into the world and make sure that everything that we're a part of is in line with our values. When my father retired and we moved to Tennessee, I had been privileged and did not realize it. I came to a school system in Tennessee where I was a year ahead of all the other students, so I felt like the boy that fell to earth. Because we lived in a rural area, back then that was something not to be proud of. And it was something that I was a little ashamed of. But what I came to realize is, again, to my father's and my grandfather's vision, they did back in 1926 and again when I was born in 1963, we were off grid. We had our own well system, which we built. We had our own sustaining food crops, snap peas, okra. My Aunt Alice would take me sometime to pick some wild poke sallie out in the river that ran across my grandfather's property, the Duck River. Most of my youth in Tennessee was spent sitting on the Duck River with my grandmother. One of the individuals that I am so grateful for to this day, because I was able to witness an individual that was not affected by the outside world. She was who she was. And one of her statements was, "Waste not, want not," a colloquialism, used often, but that's one of the mantras that she installed and placed not only in my heart, but in my mind. So coming from that environment and being an alien in my own country, of course I wanted to get away just as soon as I could from Tennessee. And a lot of people, when they meet me in Los Angeles, they'll go, "Oh, you're from rural Tennessee, War Trace, Tennessee," and they want to give me a pat on the back and look at me empathetically. That must have been an environment. And what I have to say is, man, I hope I'm not offending anyone, but people are the same wherever you go. I mean, the difference between Los Angeles and Tennessee, at least at that time, I can't speak on it now, but when you knew someone did not approve of you or did not want to be around you or did not like your form, you knew it. There was no guessing. There were no surprises. So I went off to the world, and my first job was 12 years old as a country music disc jockey on a 100,000-watt radio station in Nashville, Tennessee, because my hero, Brandon Tartikoff, was in the media, and he had come up in radio, and that was the only thing. There was no other type of music. There was no other station in my area or town that was not country music. So I grew up playing traditional country music. I worked at that station from age 12 to age 16. It paid for my first 2 years of college. And then I went off into the world and eventually ended up as, well, this is interesting. I was able to get good grades. I worked a lot. I was an athlete, but because of the education that my family had afforded me at the important time of my life, I was educated, not only in books, but my father shared stories to me about what he thought about the world. And in that process, I went to the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, where I wanted to write. I always wanted to be a writer. I always wanted to work with ideas. And at that time, you know, they were recruiting individuals, minorities that had good grades out of academic studies that I look back on that were so helpful and so important, teaching you how to think, how to write and communicate properly, and they were putting them in the business program. So I went through executive undergraduate program, an honors program at the University of Tennessee, which I'm grateful for, because when I was 17, my father died in my arms of a rare disease, and I had to find my own way in the world at 17. And a company, Procter & Gamble, paid for my last 2 years of school. I began working with them in their marketing and brand marketing divisions a year before I graduated and 3 years afterward. And so Urban Green is penance for all the sins that I committed working for that company in Cincinnati. And the universe has seen fit to punish me well. And I've taken that and I've learned. I went from introducing the Duncan Hines salt cookie into the United States market, spending 3 years at Procter & Gamble, strange environment for me. I graduated on a Friday. I started work on a Monday. I came in very, happy with the suit that my family had afforded me, and I found out it was the wrong color and the tie was the wrong color, and you need wingtips, not black shoes. And there was this whole immersive culture that I was thrown into, and I was not happy. And I began talking to them about research that I noticed, having come from Tennessee, that people were more interested in something different. They were interested in where their foodstuffs was coming from. They were more interested in the health quote. We're just focusing on market share, shelf space, and being top of mind. What about reaching people's hearts? And I was politely told that Procter & Gamble had been there long before Rickey Smith came to work with them, and we'd been successful, and that you should just calm down, be quiet, and listen and repeat the things that have been successful in the past. And that's when I knew that this was not the place for me. And so then I left, and I sold network advertising and radio, calling on ad agencies, sales. I always wanted to be a creator, and people always wanted to put me in sales, which I'm a bit of a misanthrope, I admit. I have extreme social anxiety. It may not show, but it's been years and years of of work and just repetition, but I am an introvert, and I would so much be happier just being by myself and being in nature and seeing that. But I needed to take care of my family. My dad was gone, so I did do that. And I found out it just wasn't satisfying, and I achieved success. And the societal way that we look at it, those measurements that don't measure the heart of an individual, those measurements that don't measure their grit, their character. You know, I had money, I had status, and I was just so unhappy. There was something inside of me that was not quenched, was not satisfied. And so I continued to play the game. But it was really amazing individuals that I would run into. I got to mention Carmi Zlotnick, my boss from HBO, an amazing individual that taught me a lot. Dan Fabian from WGN in Chicago. I don't think there's any individuals in news and entertainment that have the liberal arts background that these individuals did. They were focused on art. They were focused on history and literature, and they were being alchemists and infusing that into what they were doing, and that's what I wanted to achieve. So I have always been a person that is on the frontier. So I left being HBO to come back in and went to produce a little kids show where I coordinated called, what was it? Keenan and Kel. And that was it for me. You know, I worked 2 years for an internet company called Wirebreak that was YouTube before we had the hardware or the apparatus to view videos. So always a little too ahead. So in 2000, I left the corporate world completely. I took a year off, did meditation and prayer, no work, burned through all my money. Finally, I was living in a little hovel in Venice, California, near the post office that's no longer there, and did not know where I was going to do or what my next act might be. And a friend's mom, at a certain point of blowing through all my money, all my friends, they're very active. They're more social than I am. They're all constantly going out. I didn't have money to do that at this time, so I started doing a Southern tradition of inviting everyone that was a close and a friend to my alley in Venice every Sunday for Sunday supper. And a friend's mom said, you got 75 people in this alley. I remember there was 10, and they're all eating this down pie. And she said, maybe that's something that you should look at to do next. And so I started the Sweet Spot, which was a 4-generational family recipe that I often didn't eat as a kid because I'm a black sheep even in my family. I always ate healthy. I always didn't want the ham hock fat, you know, and my green beans. And my mom would tell me, you'll eat it before it eats you. And the Sweet Spot was organic pastry sweetened with no refined sugar. And I just did it. Everything I've done, I've been listening to people talk about, take the step, take the action. What are you saving up for? It's only life. You know, and I mean that from my heart. You know, you cannot let fear or self-doubt rule you. It's only life. And you're living it in the now. So make sure each day that you're taking actions in your personal life to make your vision come true, to align your world around you with the values that you have inside. And it got picked up and got traction. I'm not a chef. I learned to cook through being executive at Procter & Gamble because that's requirement. But my mom was an amazing Southern gastronomic, cook. My father was a trained Air Force chef, and I paid attention. So this one thing that was never part of my business plan, it was never part of my life goal. The sweet spot turned into a national sensation when it was picked up, nationally. And from that, I used that money to begin what I was really in my heart, which is urban. One of the first urban farms at the Los Angeles. We built it for the state of California. We executed our pilot program to perfection. No, that's not to perfection, but we did a really good job. We had free yoga. We had a Karma kitchen where every Monday, where the food that people in Santa Monica would spend hard-earned money, we were giving away to anyone from Skid Row or the downtown area that wanted to come in and eat and sit in our urban farm with its container growers full of the food that they were eating as they sat. It brought back habitat to downtown, the birds, the butterflies, and people were transformed. I think I started working with the earth because of my fear of humans. And what the most gratifying thing for me has been is seeing the transformation and the transcendence of humans that have come to work at the farm. One brief story. I live here in Highland Park. Bought my house on Craigslist back in 2002. When I moved here, about a week later, a man that, with my farm was murdered in his bed while sleeping, just for being in this neighborhood. But I love the neighborhood. I love the fact that it was quiet. I love the fact that I had chickens waking me up. It was a unique place back in 2002. And one of the individuals that came to work at my farms, it was a choice between juvie hall or you go do this at-risk after-school program. They chose the after-school program. He was a member of a local gang, one of the people that murdered someone of my farm, and he absolutely hated my guts. But he came every day, and through working with the soul, his soul was renewed. By seeing things grow, he was able to grow in his life. That individual is still with me now. He oversees, our farmers market operations in Santa Monica and Playa Vista, and I'm very proud to see his transcendence and growth. And that's something I never expected. I wanted to be away from humans, and what this young man did by transforming and growing and showing me the true potential in our urban areas, I'm grateful to him. So last I'm going to say, I've walked around and I listened to your groups. I'm very impressed with the individuals here, your ideas, and I just really encourage you to go with them and go out and achieve your vision, align your values, and make this world what you want to see. And don't worry about anything, not only out 5 feet outside of yourself. Kids, don't worry about anything outside of you. You have a capacity, the youth has capacity. I'm not against education, but we need to listen. I mean, my ideas, they're old. So the new ideas are coming from the kids that I see in this room. They need an education to deal with life, but they're educated in things that we have forgotten. So let's get back to listening and hearing and experiencing that from our youth. And Mother Earth does not need us. It's going to be here long after we're gone. This is about saving ourselves. This is about, and I want to take it, that's the dialogue that's put out there. This isn't about saving yourself. This is about creating a new paradigm. And I'm back to the optimism. It's about everyone in this room, go out and do it. And thank you for letting me be of service today, and thank you for letting me participate.